Hello, I want to tell you three stories. First, I'll tell you about Barb, an 86-year-old woman in a terminal stage of cancer. She had been in the hospital for months. In the quiet shadows of her room lingered years of grief. Her husband had and her only son passed away in a car accident years ago. She had no family left, no friends. It was New Year's Eve. The halls were full of muttered celebration, but her world was achingly silent. I sat beside her and handed her a small glass bottle, just like this one. And there was a folded note tucked inside the bottle. This is something I started with my friends, I said softly. You write the feeling you wish to carry into the new year, place it back into the bottle, and keep it close. A quiet promise, a tender reminder. As I spoke, she began to weep, deep sobs that seemed to rise from a well of forgotten longing. When her breath returned, she whispered a memory. When I was 6 years old, she said, back home in the UK, I used to sit by the sea for hours, whispering into the waves, begging God to send me a message in a bottle. This time, I gave up. Nobody home. No one was listening, she told me. And then she looked at the little bottle in her hand as if it had been shaped by a miracle. I guess someone was listening after all. She smiled through the tears. This brought me back to life, to God. I think now I can go in peace. I'm not afraid anymore. Her words softened something in me, a warmth. It just flooded the room. But as I left, the question lingered heavy in my chest. How is it that she waited 80 years to speak of the fear that she carried all her life? The second story is about Melvin. I met Melvin in the hospital. He was newly diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The prognosis? 3 months to live. As I introduced myself, he cut in sharply. I am not religious, I'm not spiritual, I stopped believing in God years ago. I nodded gently. I can still offer emotional support. And he hesitated in the beginning, but agreed. I pulled up a chair and sat beside him. Melvin began to talk. At first, about his diagnosis, his fears, his angers, his disorientation. And then he suddenly paused and looked away and asked, do you think this is a punishment from God? I tilted my head, gently teasing. I thought you didn't believe in God. That cracked something open. The conversation dropped into deeper current. He spoke of his childhood in a war-torn corner in Eastern Europe. Chaos, destruction, and the raw terror of watching life crumble around him. From that rubble, he had built a creed: control or be controlled. He told story after story. Each echoed the same refrain. If he could just manage every detail, protect everyone he loved, steer life with an iron grip, maybe he'd never feel helpless again. My life, he said, has been one long power struggle, a constant fight with fate. And then, with a smile that surprised even him, he added, I see now there were signs all along, and I kept ignoring them. I guess he had to hit me with a hammer to get my attention, didn't he? He said. That was our only session. Melvin was discharged the next day. Conventional medicine had nothing to offer. But Melvin left with something else. He may not have been cured, but in some deep and quiet way, we both knew he had been healed. The third story is about Sam. I met Sam in the mental health unit after his fourth suicide attempt. He was in his early 20s, calm, cheerful, always wearing a wide smile that seemed too big for the pain he carried. I'm always happy, he said. When I gently asked why someone always happy would want to end his life, he shrugged. Yesterday was a bad day, but today I'm okay. Among staff, Sam was known as a troublemaker. His room was often chaotic, a reflection of something restless within him. But beneath the surface, behind that constant grin, was a storm he didn't know how to name. As we spoke more, the mask began to slip, and Sam shared how he had been taken from his parents by child service at the age of 13. What followed was a trail of foster homes, group homes, empty promises, harsh streets, a long journey of displacement. And yet, as he told me about the violence, the betrayals, the loneliness, the homelessness, he never stopped smiling. It was as if he was distancing himself from this pain that he's having inside, watching his trauma from a distance, untouched and unclaimed. I listened, really listened, and then shared with him the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell. This is a mythic path. A soul cast into the hardship and tested by trials, transformed through struggles, and ultimately returning back home with wisdom and purpose. Sam leaned in. Something in him awakened. I handed him a blank journal. Maybe tonight, I said, you can start writing your own hero's tale. I'll be back tomorrow. The next day, as soon as I stepped into the unit, Sam rushed over with a radiant smile. But this smile was different, softer, grounded, as if a light had turned on behind his eyes. He handed me the journal. Every page was filled, all 80 of them. He had written his story in the third person, as if telling a legend. The boy in the tale had suffered greatly, but now the hero stood taller, no longer a victim, but a seeker. He had stopped misplacing his anger and began using it as a torch, fueling his fight to live, to grow, to matter. This, he told me, is the first time someone really listened to me. I felt heard, I felt seen, he said. Sam still had a long way to go, but something had shifted. He now walked with a story in his hand, his own myth, his own meaning. He had provision for the journey. These are just three stories among hundreds, moments where spiritual care became a quiet turning point. We are entrusted with sacred stories, helping people gather the scattered fragments of their lives, their hearts, their souls. It is not about doctrine or creed, it's about meaning. It's about standing beside someone as they ask, who am I? It's about recognizing our shared humanity, yet helping each person uncover their unique thread of truth within it. Who was Barb beneath her pain and loss? Who was Melvin beyond the layers of success? Who was Sam behind the smiling armor he wore to survive? Thank you for listening.